There's this song. It goes, I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. That's what it's like for me and Chainlink in the capital markets. At this point, I've been, between last year and this year so far, almost everywhere. Last year, we covered a lot of Asia, the Middle East, Australia, many of the top environments where cryptocurrencies and blockchains are getting adopted. This year, with the new stance on regulation in the US, we're very heavily covering all of the US institutions in addition to continuing to cover those in Asia and the Middle East. So I can't mention exact names because they want to wait to announce. They have all these processes with NDAs and it's a very tightly controlled process. But I would say between last year and this year, we're in various stages of conversations with probably all the top institutions in those geographies. And I think that those top institutions basically want to use the solution that solves all their problems, is used by the other top tier banks and players, has all the functionality they want, whether that's identity, data, connectivity, orchestration. And there really is no system other than Chainlink that meets that high standard. So at this point, we, I would say, have even gone from a world of outbound to a world of inbound interest. And that's a very big deal because when you go from having to pull customers in to your system, to them pushing their way into your system, to them contacting you and saying, I've heard you do this, I've heard you do that, I've heard you enable this, I've heard we can do DVP transaction using your system, I've heard you can help us tokenize a fund. That's really where you want to be. I feel like that's basically where we're arriving now. The key challenge now is almost going to be making sure that the system can scalably meet all the demand of all the asset managers, banks, financial market infrastructures. And as it meets all of their individual demand, that it weaves them together to transact with each other over CCIP, orchestrated through CRE, using Chainlink data, utilizing Chainlink compliance systems and contracts and identity oracles. So there are really two challenges. There's servicing all the demand we already have and servicing it in a way where anyone who joins the Chainlink standards way of doing capital markets transactions enters a big network of the world's top institutions. And they can all be on different chains. And they can all be in different jurisdictions. And they can all have different compliance requirements. But they can transact with each other. You can be a Swiss bank like UBS and be able to transact with an Australian bank like ANZ using a tokenized fund from a US institution. And all of that can seamlessly flow across multiple chains, interacting with multiple pieces of data, complying with multiple different regulatory regimes. That's what we're stitching together. That's, in my opinion, really the future of our industry. And once you stitch that together, once you get all that capital moving across the institutional participants, the next simple and obvious step is getting parts of that capital flow to move to the DeFi participants. And that's when you get to what we call the Internet of Contracts, where you basically have one interconnected web of financial products, financial service providers, banks, asset managers, all interoperating with each other on a single set of global standards for data, identity, connectivity, and orchestration. Chainlink data, Chainlink compliance, Chainlink CCIP, and CRE for orchestration. Really, we're the only ones that can make all of this work this way right now. And if the market and RWA adoption booms the way we think it will, and institutional adoption booms the way we think it will, and if Chainlink is the only way to do this for another year or two during that boom, then I genuinely think that we will be able to stitch together the largest collection of institutions with the most capital transacting with each other on production, and therefore the largest source of capital flows into the DeFi ecosystem. That's the standard, the global standard we're building.